Hello, everyone. We'd like to give you a little update on Mary and how she's been doing with her immunotherapy. We just had a CAT scan a couple of weeks ago and a CAT scan, CT scan, PET scan a couple of weeks ago, which gave us an indication of where her uh, status is as far as her cancer in her bones, her multiple myeloma.
Well, and I had been in a lot of pain, which is what
Yes, definitely.
initiated that PET scan.
Mary kind of knew, had a pretty good idea that she was, the cancer was back with a vengeance, and so after the PET scans, we were able to see that her percentage is way up as far as the percentage of lesions that are in her bones, the cancer that are within her bones. So,
And the M spike also
and
went
what's
up.
called an M spike, which which is what our doctor really looks at as far as being able to tell how much actual cancer is in her bones. So she knew that was happening because there was a lot of pain in her hip area, which already has a titanium rod in it, and also in her shoulder, left shoulder has been hurting a lot. So we kind of knew that was happening. So we went back to the doctor this last Thursday, and he talked to us about entering Mary into a clinical trial. We'd already read a lot about the CAR T-cell clinical trials that have gone on and been successful throughout the country. However, there was no slots left for the CAR T-cell to be performed for Mary at this particular time, but there is another clinical study that's called a BITE clinical study that we're waiting on to hear if we can be approved for that through our insurance company. That's going to be coming up here in the next week or so. So we want to.
Now the BITE study is really new.
Really new. It's internationally known though, but more so in Europe and in Australia. And there's about 5 or 6 people that have gone through it at the City of Hope. The response has been very good. Our doctor is very enthusiastic about this particular study and the response that they are getting from the patients that are involved. So that's kind of where we're at as far as the clinical trial goes, and we're looking forward to those kind of things happening within the next week. So we're asking for your prayers for obviously the insurance company to approve that, and her to get started on all of her tests that have to be done. And that involves well, actually the first couple of weeks are pretty tough because she's going to be in the hospital. Probably the first week about 5 days, the second week 3 to 4 days inpatient hospital. Yes.
And the first week,
She wants to talk about the side effects,
The
which
first
probably
week
all don't want to know about. But
the first week I guess I'd be really sick, and the second week I'd be crazy. But I've been sick and I am crazy.
she likes to say that all the time. But we know she's
So
not
nothing
crazy.
new. I had a stem cell transplant, so it cannot be worse than that, I'm sure, because that was no picnic. So anyway.
Yeah, she's been through a lot of pain, but she's going to talk a little bit about living every day.
And God has been there every step of the way and shown us Himself. So we're always looking for Him, and He's always there.
Yes, he is.
So we're comforted by that. And I will say that Dr. Tutt has mentioned that that getting into a study is kind of a last resort because there's not a whole lot of medications out there left for myeloma. And I have that chromosome, the T414 chromosome, that doesn't like chemo. And so, some of the stuff otherwise it's supposed to last longer, and it just doesn't for me. So we're really hoping that we can get into this study.
Yeah, but the positive thing is that they're developing new drugs and
All the time.
FDA approved drugs that we're hoping that
Mm-hmm.
one of them works.
Mhm.
Okay, but this particular trial we're really excited about, and we think we're positive that this is going to be great for Mary's health.
Mm-hmm. So they're getting the paperwork together this week, submitting it to our insurance company, and then we'll just go from there. We also want you to know that our approach hasn't changed. The medicine changes, my numbers change, the doctors change, but God doesn't change, and our approach doesn't change. We take every day, one day at a time, and we just look to Him for every single minute that He gives us, and we're thankful for every day He gives us. So that's our approach. And sometimes I get upset with myself because I don't feel like I have enough faith to be healed. And then,
I can't believe that's coming out of your mouth. That she says that.
and
Gosh.
God really spoke to me about that. The Bible says that faith as big as a mustard seed is enough faith, and that's enough faith to move mountains. But He's the one that moves the mountain, not me. It's Him. So I don't need to muster up some great faith.
You should tell them about the verse you've been thinking about all week.
Yeah, okay. So all week long I've been thinking about John 10:10 that says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus came to give us life and give it more abundantly. And then, lo and behold, the pastor talked about that verse this morning, which I love it when that happens because it's just a validation that God is telling me that. And that's how we see Him. When I say we see Him and He shows up, that's what I'm talking about. Or I'll walk into a lab and somebody will have a verse pasted on the wall that I just needed that day. Or just, my person that takes my blood's name is Jesus.
Of course. So is our gardener, too.
Or Matthew. Or, I don't know. I really do think that He shows up in lots of different kinds of ways. And He shows up in Rick. I mean, Rick is the best thing I have in this. I mean, he's just my rock, and he doesn't quit being patient, and he's the best caretaker on the planet and loves me to no end, and I love him the same. So he gives me, he shows me his love through my husband. And so
We wanted to thank you guys for all your prayers you've given us over the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years now, since Mary was diagnosed. And we love all of you. That we feel and hear the prayers that you give to us, and we also want to thank you for that. And we know that you'll continue to pray for Mary and for our family, for our kids and our grandkids. All right?
thank you.
Thank you very much. We love you.